Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 30, another 7 curious interesting things I saw last week, so let's crack on. First one is Minecraft and NFTs, or at least their opinion of NFTs, and they don't like them. So this was a corporate statement that came out, I think on Thursday, saying that they are non-inclusive. If you don't really know what's going on here, so Minecraft is a huge open world. You can build whatever you want in it. There are a lot of APIs for this, so you can actually almost create your own game out of the APIs of Minecraft, which is what you're seeing on the right hand side. So this is NFT Worlds. This is a platform that allows you to create your own worlds using the Minecraft engine because it's so open, and all the APIs are there to allow you to do this. And then what they do on top of that is they allow you to buy and sell NFTs and create these worlds and then own plots of land. Minecraft have come out and said this is non-inclusive, so if you have lots of money, this is great, but that's not what Minecraft stand for. So if you're going to use anything to do with the blockchain, or anything to do with NFTs, and try and attach it to Minecraft or use the Minecraft servers or platform, they're going to stamp out what you're doing. So NFT Worlds, who have a business on doing this, are not particularly happy about it. So they've just basically say, Yabu sucks. This is clearly Microsoft and Mahjong, who own, or the original name behind Minecraft, are obviously, they're not really with the creators. And they're going to take a stance as well, so they're going to make their own game. So it's interesting, you've seen people like Minecraft taking a stance on NFTs and their non-inclusivity. There you go. EA have filed a patent for social personas, so this is player personas, and the way you play games. So if you play games in a certain way, they are tracking that, or would like to track that, and then serve you content that is more relevant to you because of the way you actually play. So if you are one of the 9 personas here, explorer, competitor, collector, supporter, combatant, competitor, lead or a tank, commander or completionist. Now these are sorts of things we've seen in games before, or at least terms. Those, I don't think these are exclusive, but if you're one of these 9, then it marks you out as a certain type of player. They've tried to give you some sort of hint about whether your competitiveness, your exploration type of thing, whether you like acquiring items. Therefore, they will try and target you with new content, maybe promotions. They might also try to change the games that you play generally with different traits. So it's the first time that they're trying to sort of track the persona to then target you with this, what is essentially first-party data that they own. They know what type of person you are. They know what type of gameplay you want. If you're a lone wolf and you always love to try and do certain tasks first, they will give you the highest priority news, etc., etc. So that's quite interesting. How do you target people with new content? Well, you target them based on their game persona. Somewhere in France, somewhere around Paris, and somebody really doesn't like the internet. So this was a story actually back in April. Somebody cut a bunch of cables in Paris and there was a bit of an outage. It actually took 10 companies, or at least it severely affected 10 companies. And now this is quite a targeted attack. You can see from this shot, this is one of many. There were 3 areas around Paris that were affected, and what they've done is they've actually taken out chunks of the middle of cable. If they'd have just cut them, it might have been a little bit easier, but they've actually taken chunks out the middle, which have been hugely difficult to repair, and they found it more widespread than they actually thought. So it's taken a long while to actually get it back to normal, and in fact they're not even there yet. Now what's behind this is this sort of, well, nobody's really sure, which is the whole point of me reporting on this. But even in the last 3 months, there have been 75 attacks on internet or telecom infrastructure. We've seen this obviously with COVID. People thought that 5G masts were causing COVID, but there's clearly something against the internet, or there's something against progress or technology or something. So we're seeing more of this. In the case of Paris, or at least France, they've seen a slight drop in it recently, but in other places in the world this is carrying on. So so that's kind of interesting. So if you do see your broadband go out, then it might be that somebody's just cut through the cables. There you go. That's slightly weird, didn't really expect that. NFTs, we've heard about them earlier, but there's now actually an update to the protocol. This is the IER6 4907 update, which is obviously super snappy. But this is quite interesting. So it actually has an expires function. So if you actually, this is actually the update here in front of you. So it has a function that You can actually set a user to own your NFT and set an expiry date on it. So somebody can own an NFT, transfer it to somebody else, that can expire, and then it will automatically, via a smart contract, which is sort of built into the request, automatically transfer it back to the original person. So what we'll do with this, I'm not really sure. That's up to the creative people out there and all those devious minds. But imagine if you're a gamer, for instance, you've got an item or something that as a power-up. You can then lend it to somebody, they can then use it and get the benefits of it and then automatically expire, for instance. You can also loan people artworks, all sorts of things. So there you go. What you'll do with it, we don't know. But there you go. You can now rent an NFT. This is an AI. This was a thought experiment, which seems relatively naive, but then you can see where this went. So this is a company that has a machine learning algorithm that looks for new and novel molecules for drugs. So what it does is it tries to reward something that isn't toxic and doesn't have any sort of bioactivity, as they call it, so it doesn't sort of start to grow inside people like a virus, etc. So, so what they've done is they've actually had a thought experiment to say, actually, what if we reversed it? Is it possible to create bad things? Because we hadn't really thought about this before, which sounds kind of naive, as I said, but there you go. This is what the experiment is about. So they then rewarded toxicity and rewarded bioactivity. So they let it run for 6 hours. It created 40,000 molecules that were essentially deadly. You see the LD, which is basically all about sort of the lethal dose, the level. You can see there's a red line on this. Anything underneath that is deadly. So and also the little sort of fluffy graph at the top with the turquoise and the red. All of those little red ones are sort of the bad ones, basically. So you can see the little pointy arrow pointing down to the nerve agent VX, which was, I think, invented one of the world wars. It was a huge nerve agent, like deathly. A lot of the things that this thing discovered were more deathly, more lethal than the nerve agent VX. So it discovered new and novel nerve agents. So of course this is something that you would have thought you could do if you were a devious person. However, they've shown how this is actually true. 40,000 molecules in 6 hours that will kill you. What we'll do with those, we don't know. Tinkercad, on some positive news. So this is, if you don't know what Tinkercad is, it's an amazing piece of software. It's for free. You can actually, of course, buy a paid subscription, I think. However, I've never used one. I use this all the time for my 3D prints. If I'm designing anything, I do it in Tinkercad. Everything else I find way too complicated. And if you're doing some relatively basic things, or at least you're creative enough to make whatever complicated thing you want to out of simple things, Tinkercad is an amazing tool. Just sign up for it and start designing. It's really simple. However, didn't realise it actually had these things called codeblocks, which are, if you've seen things like Scratch, you've seen these. It's for sort of kids to start coding, but it's a visual coding system. So you can actually control Tinkercad using code blocks. And as you're seeing right now on the right hand side, you can just basically get something like a hexagon and you can rotate it repeatedly and create these generative shapes. And it automatically does it. It just goes through loops and will create you a viable 3D printed, or it might not be viable 3D printed, but a 3D printable thing, which is you're seeing there, which is a nice vase. So that's kind of cool. Didn't really know that existed. It's been around for a fair few years, but I've started tinkering with that. So the reason I'm doing this is, one, if you don't know, if you've got a 3D printer and it's lying there a little bit dormant because you can't really print anything, Tinkercad is going to be your saviour. And if you're into generative art, or at least would love to get into it, this is a really simple way to start to get into it. So check it out. And finally, I've not done a robot death dog update for a while, and this is probably, well, this is the one that was doing the rounds on Twitter at least. So what's going on here? So this isn't a Boston Dynamics dog, because a Boston Dynamics dog won't let you do this. They won't sell you one if you were out to do this. But this is a slightly cheaper Unitree Robotics Go1 or Go1 dog. It's a Chinese maker. These are about $2,000 or thereabouts, so they're not exactly expensive, but it's got a automatic rifle strapped to its back. You've probably seen Ghost Robotics do this as well, so there is actually a specific robot dog with a rifle, but they say that it needs to be manually operated. So this is apparently using AI to aim. So people are trying to figure out where this has come from. It's a Russian video. It seems to have a Russian badge on the side of it, which is a sort of special forces wolf on the side of it if you look quite closely on one of them. So, all intents and purposes, this is a probably somebody either associated with or enamoured of Russian special forces putting this together. Now, as an engineer, then I would say it should really be handling the recoil a little bit better than that. But also, as a human, this is horrific. Yeah, there's not a lot you can say about this. So this is probably something you can put together for less than, let's say, $3,000 or $4,000, and is obviously clearly being done somewhere in the world, probably Russia. There you go. Not a particularly cheery one to end on, but there you go. Quite interesting. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully that was interesting. If you did like it, give it a like, and hopefully I'll see you next week.